So guys, we've heard about, the church talk about divorce, about remarriage, and sometimes I feel like, oh man, is the church extremely hard on people? That's what we're chopping up today with my boy, Gowi Odera. So stick around, this is Always On, Conversations on Church and Culture. So we're back with Gowi Odera, and in our last episode, you were bracing yourself for impact. So you've been a pastor many years.
Yes.
You've been doing counseling for many. Are there times you look at a couple and you say, I think, one, these guys need a separation. Mm-hmm. Like it's not working. Mm-hmm. And what would be the circumstances for that? But are there times you tell guys, I think you need a divorce?
To your last question, no. I've never reached that point. And I would not recommend.
Hang on. In our previous episode, you talked about there are grounds for divorce.
Yes.
So if someone came and said, listen, my partner has been unfaithful consistently, I want a divorce, what do you think?
I say you have grounds for divorce, but I would not recommend a divorce.
So hang on. So grounds for divorce is not reason to press eject.
Exactly.
Okay.
Grounds for divorce is not reasons to press eject. It's reasons to give room for reconciliation. There has to be room for reconciliation. Okay? And I'll get to that if you give me the opportunity.
I'll ask you about that in a minute.
Yes.
What about separation? Do you ever speak to a couple?
I think there are places for separation, especially the separation is a place where you're giving yourself a time, okay? An agreed time to be able to get perspective about this. You're not leaving the marriage.
Okay.
You're not. You're still. You affirm your commitment to the marriage. Affirm your commitment to resolving the thing, and you're giving yourself room for perspective. To give yourself perspective. I have again not recommended for separation in itself, but I think there is grounds for that in itself. I'm not sure if it is in my place, okay, to say that. I think it's the place where I say, guys, is it their place where you need to get perspective? You're in this place, you need to be able to figure out what that is. And I think it's for the couple to define what that bird's eye view needs to look like. And
if they define that as separation? So you're not the one who's recommending it?
No. But I think I would appreciate where those people are coming from on that place, yes. But I would not recommend it that, because I don't think it is my place. But if you came to me and said, we are committed to our marriage, we are committed to resolving these things, but at this point, I think I need perspective. This next 1 month or so, I'm going to be away, or I'm moving out of my room to another room, and things like that.
What if I'm gone for a year?
I'm wondering if a year is good enough for perspective. Do you really want to resolve this issue in itself? There has to be a time limit.
What if it's extremely heated and I just need space for the dust to settle, for emotions to calm down?
You don't separate yourself from the dust in the room, okay? You separate yourself to gasp for some air, to come back and deal with the issue.
Okay.
And that's the accountability I have. Even for those who have separated, who have counseled in this and have said, you've separated, right? But is this for long? Is this something that you want? Yes, I want to be able to do it. So when are you going to do it? How are you going to do it? What help do you need in reconciling this? Do you need a third party to help you navigate through this particular thing? Those are the things that I'll recommend.
We've done that. It's been difficult. We've gone to a counselor. It's not working. We've gone to another counselor. We are just not able to make headway at all. What do you say to me then?
I'd say to you, this is the grind, my brother. This is the grind. This is the grind. This is the marathon that we need to be able to do. Things are not resolved overnight, but you have to be able to persevere in that reality in itself, despite what the challenges are in. I'll speak for you. I have also gone through challenges myself, as in my own marriage. We have gone through challenges. One of our biggest issues have been finances, and so in ways that we need to be able to reconcile on those things. It has been a long journey, and we have had third parties coming. We have gone for therapy,
sorry for interrupting you, but I find that a significant thing to say and a significant confession because
Yes. It's not a confession.
a confession is the wrong word.
For me,
Yeah.
it's
But it does feel, that's what society feels
Yes.
like. It's like counseling is we are broken, you're messed up, but what you're saying is getting counseling is about getting a third eye.
third eye.
Someone who can be objective.
But here's the thing. We're not going for the therapist or the counselor, whoever we call it, to be able to give us
the answer.
The answer, no.
Oh, really?
No, they're not going to fix it.
Okay.
They're going to give you a different perspective. They are going to help you get that perspective of saying, have you considered this? Have you considered that? Because the therapist, the counselor, the pastor, whoever you go to, is not going to solve that problem. Okay. They give you the perspective that you have not necessarily appreciated. I think for me, in the therapy room where we went to, there are many things now I've appreciated about my wife of why she's doing well. Now I can see where she's coming from. I'm not sure the third eye, if I didn't have that third eye in our conversation, would have helped me appreciate where it's come from. Okay, so now I can be able to address the issue, say, now I see where you're coming from that. So I begin to appreciate. So let's interrogate that as opposed to let's fight it out.
You know, for me, why I was just pausing on that for a second is because I feel, especially as Jamas, I find that we're not very open to, it's our ego and our pride. We're not very open to saying, hey, I need some help here. And for me, that's why I wanted to stop there and just really appreciate what you said, that you said you went and looked for a counselor and you went and did counseling. And for me, I mean, I've been married as well, 7 years now, far less than you. But even in that time, it's saying I've actually gone out of my way and said, hey, I think we have an issue here. Let's go get help. And I think it's okay to tell people, and it's okay to tell men that you guys, if you're in trouble, I think it comes more naturally for women. Has that been your reality?
Absolutely.
It comes more naturally for women.
I think there's a higher call, I think, on my part. If I see responsibility as the leader in my home, that if there are issues, I should be open.
I like that.
I should be open to say I could be wrong, or I am wrong. So there are places where I feel that I'm not on the wrong.
Yes.
I'm right on this, but I could be wrong. So why don't we get another perspective?
Is there some sort of responsibility for you as, and this I think in our 21st century world is a bit of a difficult one to understand, and maybe it's a different conversation. But is there a place for you as a man, as the leader of the relationship, whether you're on the right or on the wrong, to take charge of the...
I agree. There is responsibility. In as much as the responsibility lies on you, I think for me, as a principal, I consider myself the leader in the home. And so even in the marriage, I need to be able to be open to entertain that there needs to be a third party in conversation.
So who suggested a third party? Who?
It was me.
That's amazing.
It was me.
For me as well, it was me.
Yeah.
I went and said, listen. So I think that's a good thing for men to hear. But I want to talk about this whole thing of reconciliation.
Yes.
And the possibility of... Have you seen situations that just looked hopeless? That's why were difficult and maybe they had separated. I don't know if they had...
Kuria, let me give you a story.
Okay.
And
I like stories.
Let me give you a story.
Yeah.
And not, again, to protect their what's this?
Their identity. Yeah.
I'll tell you, this guy, let's give him a name. Let's call him Juma.
I was afraid you're going to say David. Let's call him Juma.
Okay. This guy is called Juma, all right? Juma, again, is a...
This is a real story.
This is a real story. Okay. A member of my congregation. Juma and his wife married for almost 10 years, and they were
kids.
Yes, they have kids. Okay. They were in the grind and all that, and there was, wait for it, irreconcilable difference.
Okay.
So they grew apart and all that, and they divorced. Okay. Juma still came to Nairobi Chapel, still a member of Nairobi Chapel, on and off, but we would see what it did to him. There was what I described, to him. Now, there was a point where I lost touch with him because I had gone and done some church planting, so I wasn't in the Nairobi Chapel main main church where we had Ngong Road. So I'd gone church planting. So when we did come back, okay, because I'd known, I saw Juma and his wife. This was 10 years later. So they were in church together. Wait for it. They got together, remarried.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Hang on. These guys, were they separated or divorced?
Divorced.
Like legally divorced?
Legally divorced.
Okay.
They came back. They went through counseling and remarried. And they are remarried. Juma and his wife are remarried. Yeah. So he's been married twice.
To the same
woman.
The same person.
So I want to be able to say that again, is that an anomaly, an extreme? I'd like to say I think that is the beautiful story, that there is reconciliation. After being apart for 10 years, these guys reconciled and they got married again. And the questions that they ask, is what did we do wrong, in episode 1 that we will do now in the next. And I think there has to be room for reconciliation. And this is where we get it from. God did everything in his power to reconcile us to him, that he gave his all, his own son, so that we can be reconciled to him. I think we need to model that in itself. And that's why we want to be able to that's the mirroring thing I was trying to say.
Yeah, oh, okay.
That's the mirroring thing we also want. In as much as there's also the love, the joy and all that, even in the pain, there has to be a place for reconciliation in itself.
What worked for them? What helped them? Because the reality they really are anomaly. The reality for many people is once you do divorce,
it's over.
We are never looking back.
Control, Alt, Delete.
You know that thing for Lot's wife, for you look back and you turn into a pillar of salt.
Yes.
It's like I will not dare look
Control,
back.
Alt, Delete.
Exactly. It's almost like it was annulled in my mind.
Yes. In essence, I think that is how we look at divorce, but it's not the end. There's a place where if you have children, okay, you still have to relate with your spouse. You have to be in agreement on how you raise your children, and so I guess there's a place where we need to reconcile that too in itself. Where there are no children, I think there's less incentive to work together, okay? But what about if you have investments? Do you break those investments, that you go? Those are missed opportunities to earn an income and stuff. And so there are all those complexities in itself. I think what we need to be able to recognize is that, yes, marriage, I said in the previous episode that it's like a death. But I also think marriage can be resurrected. I have seen that. This is not just one case.
And this was a difficult situation.
Exactly.
Let me ask you, right? We've talked a lot about divorce, and I'm glad you talked about these guys. I want to talk about remarriage.
Yes.
In just a bit. And I want to hear, you've told me your position, your church position on remarriage.
Yes.
On divorce, what's the position on remarriage?
So, the position on remarriage is if those two things we said in episode 1,
which are adultery,
which is marital unfaithfulness, right?
Unfaithfulness and abandonment. Yeah.
All right. And so, for me and my spouse, let me give you an example. For me and my spouse, if I'm the one who was unfaithful, okay? If I was the one who was unfaithful, the church will not, if I come and say there's another lady I'm with, the church will not listen to says you don't have grounds for remarriage.
Wait. You're saying that if I screwed up as a guy,
yes.
If I was going to say Juma, but if I screwed up as a guy in my marriage,
yes. If you are the one who is the transgressor
and my wife
was faithful and all that,
okay,
yes.
So if I come back and I say, guys, I made a mistake, I screwed up, but I found someone else, I want to be better,
we will not give you.
You don't even think twice about that.
That what we would. If your wife came, yes.
Okay.
We would listen to that case. Okay. Yes.
All
but right. That is grounds to listen, to consider, but not necessarily to go on and remarry. Okay? The same with abandonment. If she abandoned me, okay, and went, all right, and she comes back and says we've divorced, and she comes to say, I found somebody else and I want to remarry with that person. Okay? We will not listen to that case in itself. So you don't have grounds for remarriage. Okay.
So if you're the offender,
you are the offender, the transgressor.
You have no grounds for remarriage.
For remarriage. That is a position we have.
But
now,
again, hold on. How do we even know who the offender is?
The place here is for truth.
You see, we divorce because of irreconcilable differences.
Yes.
You screwed up, I screwed up. Who's the offender?
That's a good question. There's a place where you need to establish the truth. There's a place for grace and truth. And those are two things that we need to be able to recognize. There's a place for truth. What does the Bible say, and what are the circumstances of the divorce? That's how we'll be able to hold it to. Once we're able to establish that, we will consider the place for remarriage. Okay. Now that's the church's position. We won't do that for everybody. So it's a case-by-case issue.
Okay.
My personal thing is, I go a step further, Gowi. I don't think there is position. I disagree with my church's position.
Hey.
Yes.
You know we're rolling, eh?
Yeah.
You know we're recording.
Yeah. I would say personally, my personal conviction, I see where the church is coming from. There's some grounds for remarriage. But for me, I'm not sure the Bible makes a case for remarriage. Okay. I'm not sure the Bible makes a case. It makes a case for divorce, but I've not seen a case for remarriage. And so I will defer to the leadership on that, but I will not.
Gowi, I want to ask you, is there a place for grace in this conversation? I'm like, it sounds so harsh. And for me, the question I want to ask is, but does God give people second chances?
Absolutely.
And we're coming back to that in just a moment. This is always on Conversations and Church and Culture. We're talking about divorce and remarriage. If you didn't catch part 1, make sure you do. This is part 2. Part 3 is loading in just a bit.